the television show Krypton, and it is fantastic. It is so interesting. There's so much that was left on the table and so many things we want to know. First, let's bring in Raika herself, the great Sunita Henry. Sonita, welcome.
Hello.
Welcome. It's so good, so cool. And to tell you the truth, you know, considering the way your character ended, it's nice to see you're alive and well. You're healthy. You look good.
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. A bit battered and bruised. But...
No, exactly. And we'll get into all of that. Then, of course, we have to bring in Kem. He was Seg's best friend, and he is with us here today. Let's have a big round of applause for Rasmus Hardiker.
Hey, everyone.
There he is. That is not the look we remember seeing you with.
No? I drew it on last night just to be cool.
Just... Hey man, you gotta entertain yourself when you're in a quarantine. That's the thing. How are you both? Let's start off with that. Are you guys safe, healthy? Has there been, everybody's been dealing with different issues, but especially everybody watching. But have your issues been relatively minor? Have you had any big problems? Is everybody okay?
All good.
Yeah, all good. Yeah, thanks. What about you? What about you, Seth? Come on.
Oh, well, I could tell you all about online school. I could tell you all about second grade math if that's what you're interested in.
I really genuinely
maybe later.
Yeah, I'm sure you can. I'm sure you can. How long has it been since you guys filmed? Because that's such an effects-heavy show, and it's been a while since season 2 came to a close. I would imagine you guys haven't been on the set of Krypton for quite a while.
Mine was, I think the last day of shooting for me was October last year.
Yeah, I was late, kind of mid Feb last year. Yeah, something like that. And then obviously all the effects and everything, and then.
But was it October the year before? I have no concept of time.
I think it was the year before.
It was the year before, wasn't it?
That's what I was just going to say. I saw it before you were off the set.
Yeah, no, it was October the year before. Jeez.
Right, 18. Yeah, and it's interesting because the sets were so elaborate, and you spent a lot of time on them. I mean, it wasn't. There's no secret that in that show there were a lot of places, and you were in those locales a lot, and they were elaborate. And from what I've read, in studying the show after I saw it, is they were all real. So you guys were literally like on Krypton.
Yeah, the sets were huge for the first season. For the second season, they changed a lot of stuff too. So there was a lot of budget went into that. And everything about it. Obviously, there was CGI with sort of the outside landscapes and the vista, but generally it was all sets and maybe one or two locations, and that was the cool thing because in winter in the UK and Northern Ireland, it's pretty cold, so you're not battling the elements if you're on a sound stage all the time. So it's pretty cozy. Yeah.
What do you remember, Sonita, about the shoots and the group? It seemed like everybody was into this. The enthusiasm from every interview I saw, whether it was archived getting ready for this or just because I was a fan of the show, everybody had a lot of enthusiasm when it came to telling this story. Yeah,
everyone, it sounds so trite and cliche, but everyone really was a close-knit family. Because you're kind of thrown into Belfast and everyone's got to get to know each other very quickly. But I think that happened because Cam, who played Seg, was a huge comic book fan.
Yes.
He wasn't faking it. None of this was like, he did some research before, once he booked the part.
Like the rest of us.
Read up on it, like the rest of us. Right? He really loves that Superman world, and so that trickled down through everyone else.
Yeah, I've heard him on some podcasts, and I've been wanting to get him on my Hall of Justice podcast. And literally, I couldn't imagine. There were sometimes he would not stop talking about how excited he was, and this was before season 1 had ever been seen, so we didn't know what it was. When you guys heard the story, when you guys heard that it was not going to even be Jor-El, it was going to be Jor-El's father, and it was going back that far. What was your reaction? What was the thing that stood out for you when you first heard about the concept and then that your involvement in the concept?
Ras?
Yeah, I mean, I think most prequels are pretty fantastic, but this one had gone further back than I think anyone really had imagined, and it was a fresh start for all intents and purposes. And as far as I was concerned and Ken was concerned, he had absolutely no lore in the DC universe. He was a fresh character.
Must have been easy to read up then.
It was, I tell you what, the research was really difficult. I have to say, it's probably the hardest 6 hours of my life. But it was wonderful to have that blank slate. And I think Cam Cuff is, like Sonita said, is such a huge fan. And with that comes probably some sort of daunting pressure, and there was none of that for Cam. So it was like a blank slate. And luckily, we were working with genuinely the most incredible, freeing team. So could really go anywhere with it. And hopefully that shone through with a lot of fantastic writing and so on. But the ability for me personally to improv, I love improving, and everything that mayentails, just being in the moment, and everybody just kind of let me run with it, and that was sort of, wow, okay, this is they're serious about injecting a bit of comedy into this,
But you guys had some liberties, because I'm just telling you from the perspective of the viewer, they would have, key moments of people you knew. So you would be introduced to these characters in some episodes, and this isn't meant to sound like a criticism, but it would be some episodes where you'd meet 4, 5, 6 characters who wound up becoming main characters. And you're like, who is that? And who is this? And who is that? And you couldn't Google them because nobody knew who they were.
Right.
And it was impossible. Then you would get Adam Strange, and then you would get Brainiac, and you knew who those guys were. And that must have given you liberties that some of your castmates couldn't have, because, you're not Lobo, but we all know who that is. They don't know who Kem is or Raika is.
Well, then I guess once I booked it, the research that I was able to do was that they had mentioned the Sithonites back in the lore, but they hadn't really talked much about them. So there was nothing I could really research or Google or what have you. The other problem was that they did not like to tell us what was going on at any given time.
Wait a minute.
whatsoever.
So you knew less than us.
I would ask a question on set, like, so why am I saying this right now? We can't tell you that. Well, is there a reason? I can't tell you that either. So it's like, okay. I don't know if Raz had it a bit easier, but yeah, no idea what I was doing.
A little bit, yeah.
Genuine interest.
Certainly moments, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess, with these things, it's an organic entity, isn't it? You roll with the changes, as Ario Speedwagon wonderfully said. And
Ario Speedwagon, she's got flash dance. What are you doing?
Just bringing it.
What a feeling.
Bringing it. Yeah, so I think, having that fluidity, people sort of discover as we go, and things change as the show progresses, I think. So not everyone knows everything, at a particular moment. Yeah.
And I even had to come up with an accent, a random accent for the character, because they didn't have an accent. So yeah, it was all very weird.
Well, that was the big thing about the Superman movies, like Christopher Reeve. Like, why was Marlon Brando having what was his accent? And General Zod in that movie had a British accent, and why was he British? Like, they didn't have England and Krypton, and you took liberties, and you guys could take your own liberties.
It's funny. It's funny you say that, because when we shot the pilot in the year before, I think it was 2016, I think, in Serbia. There was no Adam Strange at this point. Adam Strange came into it in season 1. There was none of that, and most of the cast had American accents. I know Cam did, and then it was decided that Krypton would be a little bit more international. So we had some British, some American, a bit of everything, predominantly British. So as far as Cam goes, yeah, he had to go and redub everything, the whole pilot, which must have been frustrating for him. But I think, yeah, we got it right in the end. It's trials and tribulations and all that.
Yeah,
that is not an REO Speedwagon song.
No, it's not. And one of the things that I got the sense of is that maybe, and you guys maybe have the insight on this, is that as the episodes went on, even in the midst of season 1, it seemed like someone from Warner Brothers or someone from DC said, could you put more DC people in this? Like, could you put more DC characters in this? Because there were some episodes in the very, very beginning where you didn't know anybody and you didn't really know Seg. So there wasn't anything. I knew Kem. I knew you were Seg's friend. That was the limit. And there wasn't anything. And I just wonder if you guys heard like, oh, they're changing some things because they need some more DC people. They need Hannah Waddingham's character to become Jack Sur, who has a long comic history.
Yeah, I think it's sort of a conscious effort was made to establish this version of events and our show first and foremost, and because I think it can stand alone of its own accord. So I think it was important to really establish that all it takes is like most of an episode to go, okay, that's our main guy, that's his best friend, that's the love interest, this is the evil person or people or whatever, and then make it recognizable to people that are fans of the history of Superman. So if you were to give too much of that away at the beginning, it would have been probably too much for the eyes. You really wanted to focus on getting the story into your head and then going, oh, okay, there's...
And then introduce those elements as you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very, very cool. We have comments from the crowd. One more before that. Did you do any scenes, and I've seen every episode, but it was a couple of years ago. Did you do any scenes with Blake Ritson's Brainiac? Did either one of you act up against him? Because that was wild, because that was a portrayal of Brainiac that I think fans wanted, that they never saw. That was never what animated Brainiac was. That's never what the comic book Brainiac was. That guy was freaky looking, and it was the guy you knew, because you're like, wait a minute, he's a badass.
He is definitely a badass. We had a couple of scenes, flashbacks and stuff, but Blake is a dear friend of mine, and he's one of the single funniest people on the planet. I've going out to dinner.
He's a good actor, because he's
amazing,
funny.
And he did the voice. People don't realize that it wasn't really enhanced. He was doing that sort of voice. He was just really nailing it. And him as a person, just when the camera's cut, he's just the most jovial, silly. I think the world of him as a person and an actor. So yeah, it was a pleasure to even get like a couple of flashback scenes.
Yeah, I never worked with him. I just met him when we were crossing paths. I think I was leaving. He was coming full makeup, but say,
hello, just really, just
nice to meet you. Yeah,
nice to meet you.
A bit off-putting. Yeah.
It's like the dude in the Darth Vader mask. Like, what are you doing, man? Like, that Brainiac was legit. And I wonder what the fans think of that. Like, just the idea that if you've ever heard of characters like, I'm old enough for the Super Friends, and that Brainiac was goofy. And, the Brainiac in the animated series was good, but he didn't look anything like that. Like, that was
nailed. They nailed the prosthetics, and it was a really long process for him. It was a really long sort of 7 hours in the chair. It was pretty brutal.
Last thing before we get to questions. When you were still filming, did you know that season 2 was the final season?
No.
You did not know. So when you finished season 2, you thought, hey, maybe there's 3?
Yeah, we'd hope so. I mean, I think everyone can agree there was a lot left unsaid, and even a special would have wrapped it up if that's what you needed. But no, we didn't. And it was funny because I had my big death scene, and it was this whole to do, and then I was kind of the only one working at that time that day, that time of night. And I finished, and I got off the rig, and I was like, quite emotional. I loved him, and it had been such a pleasure, And I didn't realize that every single member of the cast had been hiding from me all day in the production trailer. And Wallace Day took a video going, shh, everyone duck down. There's Ian Mcelhinney going, oh, right, what's going on? Everyone ducking down. And they surprised me, and it was the sweetest thing. They had this cake with my face on it and gifts.
Oh, cool. Very nice.
It was the sweetest thing. I mean, genuinely, Sonita sort of touched on saying it's trite, but it's true.
No, that's very sweet. That's very cool. And you mentioned Ian Mcelhinney. I mean, he was great. He was great. Then he was a hologram, and he wasn't a hologram, and that was wild. That was really, really good.
Yeah.
He was fantastic. There's a lot of storylines, and like you said, it definitely. We got the word, but I think we got the word before season 2 had ended. You guys might have finished. But I think, because I was watching it on a week-to-week basis.
Sure.
I don't think I saw it like on linear TV, but it was on Hulu or something, whatever it was, right after it would air. And we had heard on Twitter that it was over, so that when the finale came, it was the finale. And I remember saying on the podcast, that didn't feel like a finale. And it's not to your fault. So there was nothing anybody could do because you didn't know at that time that there wasn't going to be a season 3. And that's one of the things. And that's what our first question. I kind of stole your thunder, man. TC writes, any chance on a season 3? I wish these characters on these shows also played these characters in a movie. Although I don't know if you need Superman's grandfather. I don't know.
I think that would be cool, TC. You're hired. Yeah, let's do a movie. We'll do a fundraiser.
We'll get a GoFundMe started. Yeah. Rhonda says, what was the coolest character trait about your character? And I guess she's asking both. So ladies first.
Oh, geez.
Unless she doesn't want to, then you can pass.
No. The thing about Raika is she was described to me, pitched to me as a warrior, which was great. But you see the arc that she goes through. She's actually extremely vulnerable, and that was what I loved playing about her, is that her strength came from her vulnerability.
Very well said.
I would say for Kem the exact opposite. He started off with absolutely no
aloof.
He was aloof. He was not militant at all, and the progression into that, and him being kind of stoic and there for his friends, that for sure. I mean, Kem's lovable. I think everybody loved Kem. I want to be Kem when I grow up, but not the beheading part.
Not the dead one.
That would suck. That would suck.
Yeah. All right. Let's go back to the chat room again. If you have comments or questions, you can just put them in your respective chat room, and the folks get them to me. I don't see everything that's being said, so. In the form of a question with a proper question mark at the end, and then I'll make sure I see it. What was your favorite character? Not necessarily your own. Mine was the Lobo character. This is Prime Cool.
Prime Cool. What was my favorite character? I was interested to see what they were going to do with Wallace's character, whose name escapes me. I apologize, but
Nissa Vex.
She started turning badass, didn't she?
Yeah. So I was interested to see her arc.
I would say for me, Adam Strange.
Yeah.
Just, it was, like I said, was not in the pilot, and it was vital to have a link to Earth beyond this could be my grandfather. Is it my grandfather? We don't know, and may never know. But it was vital. He was great, and Sean as a person is there's none better. So yeah, I think Adam Strange is.
His reaction when they find out about the existence of Doomsday is priceless. And
yeah.
On that show, there was, look, we know enough now in today's day and age. We know what budgets. They weren't going to create Doomsday, but just to have the threat of Doomsday was fantastic because they made him look exactly like he was supposed to look. And I remember they had done that on Smallville, but they had it be somebody else. They had it. It wasn't the authentic look of the character. And it was supposed to be that he eventually evolves into that character. This didn't make any assumptions. This was like, this is that guy. And man, he's going to play a big role in the future. And that was pretty daunting too.
Mm.
Yeah, he's a daunting dude. They did actually make a 3D physical.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like a 1-to-1 scale. It started off.
Is it in your? Is it in your other room? Because that would be awesome.
It is actually. I've just got to take it off eBay. I do have a picture, but I can't find it.
Yeah.
But it was like a big full scale thing, and there was a cardboard cutout, for VFX and reference points and that. So yeah, they did. Yeah, they made one.
Very cool. Very cool. Aaron says. Did you take anything from the set as a memory or memento? I love that question, and it always comes in one of these things.
Yeah.
If anything, I left my dignity there and my. No, I don't think I didn't take anything. We were given some cool. They had some cool stuff made for us, but no, I didn't steal anything.
No, I didn't, sadly.
No.
Was Jeff Johns there a lot? Because he was a big proponent, big champion of Krypton, and he was a big believer in what that was. And I mean, he's written so many iconic comic books that everybody in our listening audience knows how he is. But did he ever interact with you guys? Did you ever get a chance to see him on set? Because
no,
he was all about Krypton. When it was in its run, he was championing it.
Yeah, and that would have been a real pleasure. I know Cam Cuff got to meet him.
Yeah.
But no, that would have been really cool to meet him.
John says, I would definitely pay to see a show that wraps up the story. They can even do an audio wrap-up story, like a big finish story. Would they be interested in bringing back the characters in that medium?
I would be interested in bringing back the characters in any medium, but sadly,
a stage play.
Yeah, a stage play. Ken enters from the right.
Yes.
We liked one of the things we said on the podcast for all the superhero shows that got cut short because of COVID. We said what they should do because what they did was they wrapped up the show. And look, it's a pandemic, so this is not a big problem. But they wrapped up the show with to be continued, and they just stopped. And what I thought they could do was get all the actors to record their parts, just audio, and do like flash animation, like not hardcore animation that takes years to do, but just do flash animation and put the shows out in that rudimentary way. I think the fans would be so forgiving, and they'd say, wow, I just want to see the storylines wrap up and not worry about, yes, I know you can't put on the costumes and do the fight scenes and do all those things, but I think the actors would have a blast. And then you could end these seasons properly, not knowing when you're going to get the next season, and I'm talking about Supergirl and The Flash and all those different shows. And they were all kind of hamstrung. And I thought, wouldn't you love to see either comic book versions or like what that guy's saying, do a medium version or something like that where we have the technology and that way, just kind of put those storylines to bed. I felt bad because you don't know when those shows are going to resume. And I remember Supergirl just went, all right, to be continued. And I went, that's it? That's how you're ending it?
Yeah.
Didn't they do that for like the Blacklist or something?
They did? I didn't know that.
Well, I don't know. I've got one more episode left of that.
Oh,
don't
spoil it.
No, it's just animated. So I'm just, that's all.
Oh, that's a really good idea.
Before I read that.
Is that so? Have they animated it? That's interesting.
I may have been drunk. I don't
You might have been. You might have been. Is that what a lot of these quarantine nights have turned into?
Days, nights. Yeah.
Days, nights, whatever.
Don't forget, by the way, if you're watching live or watching later on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, check out the paid exclusive appearances, including one-on-one private video chats with these guys. Autographs, custom video, recorded messages. It's all at wizardworldvirtual.com. And it's up until midnight through the 27th. That's this Saturday, midnight. And then, of course, Sunday is when you do all the presentations. So you can get your one-on-one video chats and all that stuff at wizardworldvirtual.com up until midnight. And if you're watching this and it's past midnight, well, then we never knew you. There's nothing we can do that. And that is definitely something that we can do. Can you tell us, before we get back to these comments, can you tell us a little bit about what stuff that you have coming out, stuff that you've worked on that you're doing or planning to do as soon as they lift the quarantine and we can get back to some semblance of normal? What are you guys working on?
Well, when this whole lockdown started, I was in Los Angeles filming an episode of Into the Dark for Hulu.
Oh, nice.
So it's called The Current Occupant. Luckily, we were able to wrap a week before lockdown started in LA. So The Current Occupant, I believe, is airing on Hulu on July something.
Okay.
I've done my homework, July something or other.
Nice.
Just after Independence Day.
Okay.
Because it's about the President of the United States.
Okay.
And
not the current one, just a president of the United States.
Just a president.
Okay, just want to make sure we're clear here.
Yeah,
she's not getting political here.
No. I'm a dual citizen. I don't want to lose that. I
used to like Krypton, except they mentioned the president.
So that is coming out, and then July 17th, season 3 of Absentia on Amazon Prime comes out, and I pop up throughout.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Rasmus?
I do. I'm lucky enough to do a whole slew of animation work.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm involved in a bunch of different cartoons at the moment, which is kind of cool because I'm recording as many as possible from home.
Good.
And it's obviously not as creative as being in the studio with sort of 7 other idiots that we egg each other on. But yeah, it's I love doing it.
We have a lot of voice actors on the podcast, and they've said voice acting or animation work is the thing that's going on.
It is
full throttle. Like all the things that are animated are on schedule and everything's happening. Well,
I don't know about on schedule, but yeah, we're doing we're definitely pushing forward, and it is incredible that you can do it from home.
Any animated shows that the fans here would know or recognize?
Hilda.
Okay.
Yeah, season 2 of Hilda's coming, I believe, pretty soon. Dennis the Menace. Some stuff I'm not sure what I can talk about necessarily, but that's.
You got that Krypton training. They can't tell you.
Yeah, I know that NDA stuff, but yeah, there's some cool shows, some further seasons of stuff I've been involved with before, but
very cool.
Yeah.
Voice actors, for some reason, in the history, I've been doing the podcast for 5 years. They are easily the nicest human beings in the world. Like every voice actor we have, each one is nicer than the next. And I talked to a guy over at Warner Brothers, and I said, "You don't work with any jerks. There's no there's never a jerk around," and it's amazing. I don't know what it is about cartoons, but nice people gravitate toward cartoons. It's a compliment. I mean, I guess
because everyone had them as kids, and there's it's all love, man. So we're just trying to make some fun content. There's nothing.
Rhonda, in the time we have remaining, Rhonda says, a question for both. What would you change if you could about your character or other characters? I think Ken would like to be alive.
There you go.
Yeah, I would like to not have been.
Not died. Right. You died too. That's right.
Yeah, but I'm glad they got rid of the bowl cut from season 1. That's good. Yeah.
I would like that bowl cut from season 1. That's how I'd change Ken. I would have a bowl cut and just a really high pitched sort of squeaky voice. I think that
would work. Yeah.
Give a bit more gravitas.
Very nice. Very nice. I think we have time for one or two more. John says, do you like to watch your own performances?
Scrutinize, religiously. Take notes. Give myself.
I watch them.
You have the Blu-ray on repeat?
Yeah.
No, I watch them if they're on, but I break out into like a sweat and I can't quite deal with it. But I think that's
really.
I don't mind either way. I like watching it for that was cool. I remember that.
Mm.
Well, it's such an effects-heavy show that it probably looks very different than when you remember filming it.
Totally. And the most fun thing is to see which choices they made.
What
in
takes
the edit.
they took? Yeah.
That's probably my favorite thing to see.
Mm.
Right on.
Oh, they kept that in. Cool.
It's always interesting for me to be able to watch it and go, oh, so that's the storyline. Okay, great.
Yeah. I think that was all of us as well at one point.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Do me a favor. First of all, folks, a shameless plug. If you can go to iTunes or Spotify or any of your podcast platform of choice. I always say whatever your drug of choice is, and subscribe to the Hall of Justice, because we do this kind of talk all the time. And make sure you check out wizardworldvirtual.com until midnight. Well, you can go on after midnight. There's other shows. I mean, Krypton's not the only show they do. But until midnight through the 27th, this Saturday, to get your personalized experiences, one-on-one private video chats, autographs, and much, much more. So we have that. Final thoughts to the fans of Krypton that love the show, want more, but you guys played an interesting role in the legacy of one of the most iconic characters in the world.
Yeah, just thank you for watching and supporting it, and believe me, if we could do more, we would.
Yeah, definitely an honor, and thank you to everybody who watched, and all the cast and crew over in Belfast as well. Just incredible people. A real genuine experience that is very, very special to all of us. And you never know, if you as the fans make your voices heard and are in big enough numbers, people listen. And there are and there are different mediums. You were saying flash animation or hell, stop motion, whatever you want to do. Just if you want something, just get out there in the droves on social media and make it happen. But
DC brought back that Young Justice show after years.
Really?
That show had been off the air for years, and it was Twitter. It was all because of Twitter. They just kept going. So you can never say never.
Yeah, for sure.
Because the actors will come back. The love that the actors have for the roles.
Yeah, and the sort of desperation in their souls, really, just
to finish their stories.
Their stories, yeah.
Yeah, I could totally see that as well. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Sunita Henry and Rasmus Hardiker. Great panel. Great job, guys. It was really a pleasure talking to you guys.
Pleasure was ours. Thank you so much.
Hey, this is Alex Malari Jr., and you are watching Fandom Spotlight. Be sure to hit that like button, share, and subscribe. Your Emperor commands it. Thanks for watching.